All right. What is still and what is moving in the world? That was a question first posed to us by Lawrence Leong, and he is a member of the Center for Internet and Society, and they use this question and others to start conversations between people from wildly different academic and professional disciplines. These fundamental questions would form the basis for a proposed new way of learning in India, away from the familiar space of classroom teaching. There would be no set curriculum, no target audience, and no credentials earned. Rather, the goal was to bring together a community of learners hoping to share their passions with others. An architect in Mumbai creates a book about archiving. A translator from Delhi discusses time in Hindi literature. A social worker, educator, and librarian discover a new city using their 5 senses. These are just a few of the examples of the many that Lawrence and his colleagues hope to build, not in the classroom, but on an online learning platform called Edukitchen. So what is still and what is moving in the world? Don't you think it about time that we answer that question? Over the past 2 months of living and working in India, I think it fair to say that we can begin to answer this question with new context. So what is still in the world? Well, it could be the internet at times when the power goes out in our neighborhood. We might refer to the calm before a torrential rainfall during monsoon season, or the sense of peace found in a Hindu temple or during the Islamic holiday of Ramadan. Might also refer to the moments of thought when laying in bed after a long night of conversation. What is moving in the world? Well, it most certainly is my stomach after eating dosas from the streets of Bangalore. It is the zooming of riding in an auto rickshaw trying to beat mid-morning traffic. It is also the accomplishments found when a group of talented, engaged, and thoughtful people come together and try to find ways to make ideas a reality, where if becomes when and maybe becomes yes. So since coming to Bangalore, we have chosen the learning management system, Moodle, to build an online learning platform that allows the creation of courses around any topic. An open system where learners can become instructors with the filling out of an online form, where someone can search by courses based on their interests or discover new ones with use of tags. We have designed a live website called Edukitchen.in. We've created 4 unique Edukitchen courses. Including one titled Making Sense of the City, where we invited others to discover the city using their 5 senses. We have downloaded and restored 13 demo courses through open course databases. And we have 25 integrated tags connecting courses using associated words and topics. We've made up 6 unique user roles, which range from course creator to student, in which different users can interact with the system. And we've conducted 10 user tests, tests which included an in-classroom lesson without use of technology, followed by testing with the technology, with learners, instructors, and administrators. As we dive deeper into the explanation of the project, Verena will talk about the process, and Jesse will share some insights from our findings.
All right, so when we first arrived in India, we actually had content on 2 different open source platforms, Moodle, as was mentioned, and WordPress. So one of our first points of our agenda was to focus in on one tool and choose that. So we chose Moodle together with Lawrence, and sorry, I gotta get my notes. And then from there, our work kind of proceeded along parallel tracks. One track was actually building out the system, building out Edukitchen on the Moodle platform, and the other was getting user feedback about why and how people might be interested in using the Edukitchen thing. So, first of all, one of the distinctives of the vision of Edukitchen is to have these unorthodox connections between subjects that people maybe wouldn't expect. And we knew when we chose Moodle that while it was really robust in terms of the features for creating course content, it didn't have a lot of flexibility for making those connections across the site. So we spent some time trying to really extend the tagging system and the category structure that was within Moodle to try to get these cross-site connections happening. And unfortunately, the technical solution to this is yet to be discovered by us. I'm sure it's out there, so we weren't able to find it, but we did ensure that Edukitchen course creators will be able to freely reuse and remix content across the site. Notes. Okay, let me just see. All right, so when we came, we had some fledgling course content already in the site, but we really, once we decided on Moodle, we knew that we needed to look at the range of possibilities for creating courses on this platform. So as Brendan mentioned, we got a bunch of open courses that were available through the Moodle community, and we also set about building our own course, which we called Making Sense of the City, and the intent of this course was to look at the interactive features that would be possible. I mean, the whole point of this thing is to get a community of learners working together. So we put together some unusual interactive exercises, like having people make a database of smells of the city, and we were really excited about it. Unfortunately, we didn't get a lot of people actually participating in the course, but it was a good exercise in seeing what Moodle can do, and it proved to be helpful in our formal user testing, which I'll get to next. Okay, so last week we did a presentation at CIS, and as we were talking, someone asked Lawrence, so who is the target for this thing? And Lawrence said, you. And I think he kind of startled the guy. He was like, what do you mean? What he meant was that this is open for anyone who has a little bit of curiosity, which seems like many people here in India. And so, as we worked through our project and met people, it seemed like everyone we met was a potential user of the system. So we had a lot of informal user testing going on. And often when we explained that we were working on a project that would allow people to learn online in a flexible, unstructured way, we heard, so that's just the internet, right? So we knew that we needed to do some more formal user testing to find out what might be really unique about learning on this particular platform. So we started with, right away when we got here, we did a focus group on constructions of disability in Indian cinema. We chose this topic because we already had a course contributed by Dr. Joyajit Paul on Edukitchen, and so we organized a sort of a roundtable discussion with people and had them fill out pre- and post-test questionnaires about the experience of learning face-to-face. Next. Once we had a good prototype of courses within Edukitchen, we recruited 5 potential users and did hour-long user interviews with them, looking at courses like the constructions of disability and also the Making Sense of the City. And we had 3 research questions with these people. We were looking at what they thought would be engaging to them in learning online, what their expectations were about the commitment involved in taking part in this, and also how they would prefer to navigate through the course content. And Jesse's going to share a little bit about the findings from that. We knew when we started that for this to be a success, we needed to keep 2 sets of users in mind, both the learners and the instructors. And so one of the highlights for us of our time here was a 2-day workshop that we had with 4 of the initial instructors of Edukitchen, Lawrence, Rupali Gupta, Prasad Shetty, and Shweta Sardi. And they came and shared with us their vision. They've been working on this for 2 years, so this is the next stage of actually having a platform. And so what our focus of the time with them was to do the seemingly mundane task of having them actually sit down, open up their laptops, and try to construct a course on this platform and walk through the first-time user experience of just seeing the site and seeing what it could do. And that proved to be really helpful to us in figuring out that we needed to have a really clear workflow for getting people, first of all, to create accounts as learners, but also to make a good way for the site admins to get instructors and what they're calling initiators on board as well. Oh, sorry. Yeah, I was just going to say the last part of our process has been sort of tweaking the system, getting that content navigation together, and also coming up with solid documentation so that they can take this project further.
Hello. So as Verena said, we did some user testing that utilized several questionnaires as well as hour-long interviews that included some scenarios, and we focused on engagement, expectations, and exploration of the content. And during the initial questionnaire process, we like to see what people's already established online learning habits were and how it might relate to Edukitchen. And as far as engagement went, we learned that the just general idea of interdisciplinary courses really spoke to people because it wasn't something that was really offered with Coursera, and it was also not something that is widely used within the already established Indian university system. So one user even said that he seeks out these interdisciplinary options because he wants to go beyond who he is. He doesn't want to just stick with being an industrial engineer and learning what he has to do at conferences or things that work like that. And then as we dived in deeper, we saw how they engaged within the courses and saw what the different activities were. And so one of the things we talked about was creating the course about senses and smells for exploring your city. And one of the things that people really responded to is that you have these readings that go beyond India, but we have activities that help people link back to their experiences here. So, you know, an idea of looking at an art show in Brussels or how smell in Paris or the New Jersey Turnpike, you know, it doesn't really relate to anyone's life here in Bangalore, but it's giving people other options to think about senses and things like that. So one of the users, who you saw earlier, said, it's nice to see an application of the course from something that you're observing every day. And I think generally that the principle is nice to see an application to what you're reading in your life. So while Coursera or Khan Academy might have these options to, you know, cause you to think about it, there's not a community that's already established for talking about these with people around you and in your city. However, one of the surprising features was, or the surprising pieces of information is that while most people are interested in sharing their comments in forums and discussions, people are really reluctant to share their media or other user-created content like essays on these types of services, and due to a number of reasons. One was that they didn't want to have to contribute media so that their teacher could see how they are progressing through the course, especially when Edukitchen is something that's, you know, someone can do one module and then another module, and they're not doing it to get a, you know, a degree or anything like that. Another person was reluctant because they didn't want to be redundant. They wanted to be original. They wanted to give content that was unique and could really help to build this community. Well, a third person said that just technology in general was, you know, a challenge. They're apprehensive to maybe pick up a camera and record something and post it on YouTube just because they've not had that experience. And this person but then said that they utilized it in an online learning experience and that it was something that was engaging for people who kind of just like to sit around and maybe not talk, but they're able to go out in their community and pick something that was really useful for them. And then one other aspect as far as the barrier for engagement with media was that users were apprehensive of what's going to happen with their content once it's put up. So are teachers going to use it in a way they don't know? Is this content going to represent them possibly in a negative way or positive way? So this leads into the next topic of expectations and knowing clearly what is going to happen once they're involved in the course. So the three levels that expectations were kind of defined were is, you know, how do I flow through it? Moodle was really easy for that. It's, you know, it's structured like a to Z course is really easy to follow. So the site design really helped people, you know, see what they're going to do. But then once you're in course design, teachers need to be kind of intentional about how they, you know, do the flow of a course, but also saying like, what is a course? What is a lesson? So when someone goes in a lesson, is it just consuming content, or are they going to be using that content for something else? And then also within the activity of scaffolding it. So, are you ordering stuff in a way that's very simple and intuitive, so you're not having to ask a lot of questions since you don't have that person-to-person dynamic. Okay, and then finally exploration is like, where am I going? So as we said before, we had been looking at tags. We had really assumed that tags were like the way to go to connect content within the courses because it's a little fine point that creates those really unique connections. However, whenever we asked people to explore and find courses based on the scenarios, we found that they didn't look at tags at all. They went straight to the search bar and they searched for what they wanted, or they wanted to go and look at course descriptions and course titles. And they wanted things to be categorized. They didn't want to just kind of be completely free-form flowing because the topics were very interdisciplinary, they weren't quite sure of like what things could be. So another thing with expectations is having instructors be able to list what a title is in a clear, creative way that kind of says what's going to happen while also not being too obscure, as well as the descriptions, which is another limitation with Moodle is because when you search on the site, it's not able to penetrate the course layer, so you need to really rely on the course title and the course description. And another challenge with the tags we found within the system of Moodle was that we have 30 courses online. However, there's not a dynamic, they're very dynamic, but there's not a lot of overlap. So until there's a lot of content that's created with different ideas that overlap, the tags aren't going to be anything. So you click on marching bands and there's one course, and then you click on media and there's two courses, which that shows a connection between two really different sources, but it doesn't really help you explore. So one thing that we're going to suggest is that maybe we look at tags as a different thing. Maybe it doesn't cover course content, maybe it covers the actions and activities that you're doing within the course, and also the intentionality of the courses that people create, thinking what already exists and how it might relate to other things.
All right. During a discussion with Lawrence, he explained why the kitchen in Edukitchen, and he said it's an environment where innovation is welcomed, where the spirit of collaboration is everywhere and learning is a shared experience. Well, we hope that the Edukitchen we've created is a base in which flavor can be added. The spices of creative instructors and engaged learners will greatly increase the taste of what Edukitchen aspires to be. As we pass it off to Lawrence and his colleagues, we're excited for the possibilities. We've been grateful for those who have helped in practical and theoretical support, and those who have given us encouragement along the way. We thank the Center for Internet and Society, Joyjeet Pal, Lawrence Liang, Shweta Rupali Prasad, our classmates, willing to give us suggestions and content. Thank you. And the informal conversations we've had with strangers on the streets. We hope to continue these conversations, and we might begin by asking you to answer the question, what is moving and what is still in the world? Thank you.
Okay, since we're short on time, we have time for one quick question.
Do you see the content of some of your courses changing in India versus in the United States or in other countries? I wasn't meant to stump you.
No, I think that I think the course content would be what it is. It's it might change, but I think that it's going to be directed by whatever community is established. So while you might have that course on what is moving and what is still, the way that I think the different learning communities and the different disciplines that people come from is going to really impact on where it goes from. One of the things that we didn't talk about was that we really wanted the option for people to be able to suggest course material and also suggest the course that they might want to teach. And that's going to be based off of people's interests, but also their experiences already on Moodle. So I think that whatever is established, it might not change from community to community, but the way that people interact with it will.
And I think, I think too, just the education system in India kind of requires some sense of exploration, where a lot of students aren't right now given maybe options, and so this would be an environment where that could be more flexible, where in other parts of the world there is that flexibility already within post-secondary coursework.